Shelter Audio is a Japanese manufacturer that has been producing high-quality phono cartridges since 1986 and has a well-earned reputation for exceptional sound quality and meticulous craftsmanship. They only make moving coil cartridges. Shelter currently has two lines of cartridges, the Ultimate line and the Legendary line. The cartridge I'm about to discuss today is the model 901 Mark III, and this is the top model in the Legendary line. Let me tell you a bit about the specifications, use a couple of albums to talk through sound quality, and if it is a step up in performance from less expensive cartridges like the Audio-Technica OC9 XSL that I just reviewed or the Dynavector 20X2L. Also, how does it compare to my reference moving coil, the Koetsu Black? The 901 Mark III uses an aluminum alloy body and an aluminum cantilever with a line contact diamond stylus. Retail price is $2,500 USD. The Koetsu Black retails for $3,000 USD new until stocks last. The Shelter 901 Mark III's output is 0.5 millivolts. Impedance is 15 ohms. Recommended tracking force is 1.5 to 2.2 grams. It weighs 9.1 grams. Information about compliance is not provided anywhere, but I believe this is a medium compliance cartridge that will work well with most light and medium mass tone arms. I used this Shelter 901 Mark III primarily on my Riga Planar 10 turntable. Phono stage is a Manley Chinook. Amplification is by Audio Research VSI 60, and speakers are the Acoustic Energy Corinium. Okay, now to sound quality. I feel like this cartridge truly walks the fine line between detail retrieval and analog warmth. Let me explain. This album is called African Rock by Akira Ishikawa. This is a jazz fusion rock album with African rhythms. The first track is called Prayer. There is a female vocalizing on this track, and the Shelter brings out the richness, the vocal range, and the spatial cues of the recording venue quite well. A touch less rich than the Koetsu Black, but the Shelter did seem more extended in the high frequencies than when compared to the velvety smooth highs of the Koetsu Black. Also, the spatial cues were more easily heard with the Shelter. The Audio-Technica OC9 XSL also hinted at the ambient space retrieval but sounded thinner than either the Shelter or the Koetsu. I would say that the Dynavector 20X2L surprised me with Shelter's levels of ambient space retrieval, but lost out to Shelter or Koetsu for the magic in the vocal range. The remainder of the tracks in side A, like African Rock, Black Power, and Samba, have lots of high energy, jazz, funk, percussion. Here, the Shelter 901 was clearly better in terms of detail retrieval, transient speed, and attack when compared to the Audio-Technica OC9 XSL or the Dynavector 20X2. The Shelter's bass definition was even better than the Koetsu Black, but the Shelter did lose out to the Koetsu in terms of that seductive mid-range. In the bass, the Koetsu had the lusher bottom end, whereas the Shelter had better definition. This album by Herbie Hancock is called Headhunters. The track is called Chameleon. It has this deep grunting keyboard, harmonics and overtones, and a punchy mid-bass section. The Shelter 901 Mark III made listening to this whole album great fun. The sound was vibrant and textured with all sorts of nuances in the harmonics of the keyboards and the bass. Much more detailed than the Audio-Technica or the Dynavector models I mentioned. And the sound had more momentum and dynamics when compared to the Koetsu Black. The mid and the low bass seemed more extended with the Koetsu at first, but with some extended listening, it was clear that the Shelter had the more propulsive force and more definition in this region. So what do you get when you step up from the Audio-Technica OC9 XSL and the Dynavector 20X2L, which cost $750 USD and $1,250 USD respectively? It is transparency, effortless detail retrieval, and certainly timing. Timing is greatly improved. You feel the propulsive nature of the rhythm in the music, and there is an immediacy to the sound, more weight in the extreme frequencies, low frequency and high frequency, and more detail in the mid-range. In these respects, I would say that I like the Shelter 901 Mark III model even better than the Dynavector XX2 Mark II in my system. The comparison to the Koetsu Black is not that cut and dry. Presentation from the Shelter is more transparent than the Koetsu, but that tonal saturation in the mid-range, mid-bass, and even the mid-treble of the Koetsu is to die for. The Koetsu sound in this area is extremely seductive. At this point, it comes down to what you prefer: speed, attack, and resolution. I'd pick the Shelter, or richness of tone in the mid-bass, the mid-range, or the mid-treble. Go for the Koetsu Black. What is your favorite phono cartridge in the under 3,000 USD price range? If any of you have heard Shelter's top-of-the-line Harmony cartridge, I'd be very interested in your thoughts. Drop some comments below, and thanks for watching.